Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Samari, and I am going to be sharing a little bit about what real estate wholesaling is. I'm going to share my screen in 1 minute just so you can see the full presentation. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask in the chat and leave them for the end. And I'll definitely share my knowledge with all of you. All right, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. All right, guys, just do one thing. Just 1 minute, trying to get something situated. All right, here we go. So, like I said, welcome again to Real Estate Wholesaling 101. My name is Samari, and I'm here to share with you a little bit about what wholesaling is. Let's get started. All right, so really quick about me and my mission in life. Honestly, I have always been in the field of working with others and really helping get others live a better life. And I'll share more about my previous career and why I feel so passionate about helping others. My mission in life is to help others live a life that is filled with passion, purpose, and alignment through motivation, connection, and education. And every single day, I try to live to this to my full potential. I feel like when you're passionate about something, whatever that is, you will align with your purpose in life, right? And things will be easier for you in the sense of like carrying these things out. And it's easy said than done. But we often, have to find our own motivation and really stay connected with others that are in alignment with what we're doing. And just education, I feel like I am a forever learner. A forever student, to be more precise. I'm always learning, looking for new things to learn about, and I just feel like you never stop learning. It's beautiful. All right, guys. So a little bit more about me. My career background, I have over 10 years of experience in business, and I have experience in real estate investing, wholesaling, buying and hold, and creative real estate strategies. I used to be a full-time psychotherapist. So when I said I always worked with others to help them, be fulfilled, find passion in their life, and be in a better place. That is where it's coming from. I spent a really long time as a psychotherapist and as a school counselor working in the community. And I made a transition full-time almost a year and a half ago, but part-time 5 years ago. Really, in this summer will be 5 years when I started transitioning out of the therapy world. I've also done life coaching. I founded a nonprofit while I was working in a middle school to help women and girls and empower them to the best of their ability. My education background, like I said before, I do have a master's in counseling and a bachelor's in psychology and business administration. So business has been around me all my life, and it's really been something that, I've always wanted to be working for myself. I wanted to create my own hours. I don't play well with others in that sense, no. And not in, I work well with others all the time, but in the sense of like, I always wanted to create my own schedule, really like do what I need to do. And when you have children, that is vital for me, and that was kind of like a non-negotiable, and I felt like I was aligned with that path to be there. So as my current roles, I am a wife. My lovely husband and I are partners in real estate as well together. And I am a mom of 4. I have 4 boys ranging from ages 14 to 4 years old. My youngest ones are my twins who are 4. So it is a busy, busy time, and I'm here to tell you that you can do this even when you're busy, because I'm going to share why. As an entrepreneur, I always love to really explore new creative, like multiple streams of income. I feel like you should always have, your business hat on, and there's a lot of different ways to generate income as a business owner. So why not explore them? I'm also a real estate investor. I am a mentee and a mentor, and I coach in real estate and business. I love to guide individuals in creating a new life that is redefined by you. And I've done a little bit of public speaking here and there, especially when I was in the therapy world, but that has been transitioning more into like the business world. So it's exciting, and I'm excited that you're here. So let's get started. So real estate investing, there are like so many strategies, right? Like there's ends and ends of it. And it can be super overwhelming because it is like, intimidating to be in a room or talking about, investing when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what is going on? So just to mention a few, I wanted to share with you, there's always the fix and flip, right? Like you're fixing the part, you buy a property, you fix it, you flip it, and you get, what you're selling it for after minus the cost of flipping. That's your revenue that you just generated from that. And there's always, wholesaling, which that's the one that I'm definitely deep diving with today. There's house hacking, which means that you purchase like a multifamily home and you live in one of the floors and you rent out the other floor, or sometimes it's done in a single family home and people rent out the bedrooms, which is also, something that is a possibility. There's live in and then rent, which means that you have a plan, you're going to buy the property, you're going to live in it for a year or two, and then you're going to rent it out and buy another one. So, and then live in and flip. So some people actually in the middle of remodeling their property, they'll buy a property, on the cheaper end. And while they're updating it and flipping it, they're living in it. The BRRRR strategy, which is buy, rehab, refinance, have refinance, rent, and repeat. Sorry, that took way longer than I needed to. Investing. And that's exactly what that means, right? You buy a property that needs some rehabbing, you rehab the property. Now you refinance at a higher rate, right? Like a higher number because your property is worth more. You rent that out and you do the same. You repeat it again and you do the same with another property. Short-term buy and hold, that is a lot of the Airbnb rentals, VRBOs, traveling nurse, student housing, those can all be considered short-term rentals. And then long-term rentals is like your typical long-term rentals, right? Like apartments, condos, etc. You rent into a long-term tenant for a year plus, over time. There's also the debt snowball, all cash plan, trade up plan, hard money lending, buying discounted notes, syndication, REITs, tax sales, and like I said, it could continue endless and endless. So for today's purposes and to keep this a little bit more target, like on point and not go over for like 10 hours, we're going to focus on wholesaling. So what is wholesaling, guys? What is wholesaling? I get that question all the time. People are always asking me what wholesaling is and what people, like, what do you do? What do you do when you wholesale a property, right? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what are the steps to wholesale, and we're going to do a Q&A at the end. So wholesaling in a nutshell is acquiring a product or service at a discounted rate. So let's think about that again, right? You're acquiring something at a discounted rate, you're wholesaling. That's the term wholesaling means. Now, when it comes to wholesaling real estate is, you apply it to real estate. You're acquiring a property, a real estate property at a discounted rate. And when people say like, what is wholesaling real estate? It's basically you're going to find the property at a discounted rate, and you're going to put that property under contract, under market value typically. You assign that contract to an end buyer, who's your cash buyer, end buyer, aka investor. So bottom line is, wholesalers, you are a middleman. You are the middle. You're negotiating that deal. You're getting that property under contract for a lower price that it is for market value, and you are reselling the contract. You're not reselling a house. You're reselling the contract that you have, basically, and you're assigning it to someone else, and you make your money in between. So really quick, under market value is the go-to when it comes to wholesaling real estate. Now, we are at a time right now that, properties are crazy. There's like hotcakes out here, right? Everything is flying off the shelf, like insanely. So you have to kind of tread lightly. In some markets, you can get away with like a different percentage than others. And I'll talk a little bit about more what that looks like too. And then also you do have to think about, like, if a property is turnkey and it does not need any repairs and it's already rented and it's cash flowing, these are all factors that are going into what price you're giving them, what offer you're making them, and what your end investor may be able to purchase at. But for this purposes, we're going to focus on like a true wholesale deal. So the steps to wholesale, I mentioned them earlier really quick, but basically you're identifying a market, right? You're finding a market where you can find properties. And let's be clear, like, there's a market everywhere. Some areas are more competitive than others. Some areas are used for certain, like are targeted for, certain things and certain populations that will be attracted to that area versus others. And then there's always, like the virtual wholesaling part, right? So you're finding virtual markets as well. So when you're, then we go to identifying a distressed property or a distressed seller. We skip trace this information. We connect with the seller. We identify a purchase strategy. So again, we focus on wholesaling, but I'll chime in a little bit on other creative financing strategies as well. You put it on the contract, you identify and connect with buyers, and then you wrap it up. You go to closing and everybody gets paid and get what they need. If it was so simple, right? So after that, right? So let's go back to identifying a market, right? Local versus virtual. So for me, I started local in Connecticut, but after some time, I realized that, it wasn't going to be as easy as I wanted it to be in Connecticut. So I started doing virtual wholesale deals, which means that I'm in Connecticut, but my deals are happening in other states. So I've had deals in upstate New York, deals in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and Maryland and Florida. So there's many different ways that you can wholesale virtually in many different areas. I mean, the US is your playground, basically. For local market purposes, there's always, you can identify a potential house or a potential area by where there's a lot of inventory of potential like distressed properties, right? And what, I think I'm chiming in a little bit on what a distressed property looks like. For sale by owners, right? These are people who are already motivated to sell. Now you need to figure out how much they would truly want. They have it listed for price, but can you get them to a discounted price? Foreclosures or pre-foreclosures. And with COVID, we had a little bit of a hiccup with that because there wasn't as many foreclosures or pre-foreclosures available, but they are coming back up, and this is definitely like an area that you can target. And what are some easy access to probate leads? There's probate leads that you can get, and you can purchase them through FIVERR and other places too, or if you have a connection, you're able to grab them, from the city or county, etc. And you can target those areas. As far as a virtual market goes, and if you're identifying a virtual market better, save who you have in that area, right? So sometimes you might have boots on the ground, and what that means is like someone who can check out the property for you, right? That you can call or text. So it could be a family, it can be friends, it can be someone that you just know in general, like that you've connected with at different stages, and you could potentially ask them to help, like if they see a property or something like that, to send them to you, or if you already identified a property, they can go check it out for you. Hometown like former residence is also like something, that you can look at for virtual markets, anywhere that you like to vacation potentially as well. When you're identifying a distressed property or a distressed seller, for location wise, you can do, if you are local to the area, you can do driving for dollars, which it literally means that you're getting in your car, you're picking a place, and you're like, I'm going to go down these streets all of the time, like to see what properties are looking like. They need some help. They might look abandoned. They might look like no one really cares about them. The outside is all like messed up, or, it's just not like the most appealing, right? So that's what driving for dollars means, and that's what is identifying a distressed property, right? And you could do this also virtually, driving for dollars virtually, and I can potentially share a little bit more. Let's see if we have enough time what that means. But yes, for sale by owners, right? Sometimes people throw a sign up in front of their house and say like, hey, for sale by owner. Guess what? You get to call them. Zillows, there's a lot of for sale by owners on Zillows, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, forsalebyowner.com, and of course, like I just mentioned, driving for dollars. Sometimes on Zillow and Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, you find a lot of other wholesalers listing the properties on there. So you just have to be careful and know, like, figure out like if this is another wholesaler. Not that is a bad thing, and you could totally work with someone, but if you just want to be transparent and also let them know that you are a wholesaler once you figure that out. Now, a distressed seller, similar to a distressed property, you could find them on Zillow, because if someone is doing it for sale by owner, they're distressed. There's something that's motivating them, that they want to sell their property. Now, they don't want to use a realtor. Again, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, for sale by owner. These are all different areas where you can also potentially find the distressed seller. And I'm gonna go back to distressed seller too. Distressed seller could be someone also who is going through a divorce, who is retiring or have retired already, who's gotten through some rough patches when it comes to their finances, and they need to liquidate their property or properties. There's different reasons why people would want to sell. And our job is to find it. Tired landlords, someone who's owned that property for a long time, and they have rentals, and they're tired from doing it, or absentee, right? So if they live in Florida and have a property in Texas, they might not want to go and deal with it anymore. So again, those are all potential distressed sellers. And in continuation, after you have identified a property or a seller, you skip trace it. So there's different ways to skip trace. There's free ways, and then there's paid ways. So free ways to do some skip tracing, and that I suggest for smaller, amount of properties, is using truepeoplesearch.com or binverified.com. I've used both of them. They both are pretty good. And then, of course, like for sale by owners, they usually have their information right there. So when you're looking on Zillows or on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, or even driving by their house and see the for sale sign, you can grab their contact information there. And then when you have lots of leads, lots of potential properties, it's probably best use of your time to use a virtual assistant, or that you can grab like on FIVERR really quick. Leadsherpa.com is also a good place to upload lists, and batch skip tracing is our favorite right now. That's the one we use all the time. REI Skip, FIVERR, like I mentioned, and Skip Ginny, and there's tons more as well. Each of these softwares have different minimum. So some of them will skip trace a list of 50, some of them will skip trace a list of 100. You just have to check what their minimum is. And then the pricing, honestly, they're all pretty across the board. They're very similar. So you kind of figure out, you know, what your budget is. And I would highly suggest that if you have a large batch to use one of these softwares to skip trace. And what is skip tracing, right? Like I said, it's locating the information of the distressed sellers or owners of the distressed properties. So when you skip trace it, you're going to try to get their names, their phone numbers associated with them, mailing address, and emails, because you're going to use those to do what you need to do to connect with them. And now we're connecting with the sellers. So once you skip trace, you will now figure out what way you want to connect with the seller, right? So many people usually use call calling, which is a big one. That's how I started doing call calling. And I did a little bit of direct mail, but honestly, that wasn't like my best way to connect with people. And to the best use of my time. So I moved to text blasting, and we do we basically do cold texting, right? And that's our number one lead generating marketing strategy, is through text blast. There's also email drip campaigns, and then through social media, you can contact them as well. But the point of it is like use one and stick with it for a while, because a lot of times people say like, oh, or you hang like bandit signs. That's not my favorite one to do some marketing, but that's another that's another way of doing that as well. So connecting with sellers on this, you know, for this purpose is, you know, you choose one of these. You're going to either do some cold calling, you're going to mail them out some letters, you're going to send them a text, you're going to put them in an email drip campaign, or you're going to reach out to them through social media if it's like something that you saw on Facebook or Instagram, and you're going to talk to them. So I have a script that I've used, but now I have a VA that works for our company. And I've shared my scripts, because there's a couple of them, with RVAs, and that's what they use, you know, to communicate with them via text. If there is some time that they do call calling as a backup, they also use the same script, and it's very straightforward and to the point, and no, you know, gray areas. But the goal of connecting with the seller is to really build rapport, right? You want to get them to trust you, you know, and you can do this via text, and it can do this via, you know, call calling with a regular call, or sometimes, you know, when you send out mail, they'll call you back or text you through email as well, etc. And you're going to, you know, confirm the public information, you know, ask like neutral things about the property before you dive into more personal conversation, right? So we're going to trying our hardest to relate to the seller, right? This is a relationship building rapport stage, and you want to be able to listen to what they're saying, right? And pick up on these little things, right? You want to find out, you know, what their motivation may be for wanting to sell the property. And so like, hey, you know, my kids are grown and I'm retiring in 2 years, or I have a new job that I need to relocate to, and I need to sell my house fast. Now, again, in this market, houses are selling fast in general when it comes to the regular like realtor market, but a lot of the sellers sometimes don't want to pay the realtor fee, right? So this is where you come in hand, and you're able to share that part as well. But as you're building rapport, you know, you're looking for motivation. Again, you're listening. You're finding out what some pain points are, whether it's financial or personal distress, and an opportunity for you to help them, right? You are a problem solver. You want to be able to help, you know, them sell their property as quickly as possible and as painless as, you know, possible that you can do. Try to figure out, you know, what their timeline is, and a roundabout price. You know, a lot of sellers won't give you a price because they want you to give them a price first. But there's no harm in asking and just seeing like what their ballpark is. Sometimes they have a minimum in mind. Do they want just like, you know, cash ASAP? Do they want to do like monthly income and have this residual income coming in? What is your goal? And then after you have all of this information from the seller, you are going to pull comps and determine the ARV of the property, right? What is the max value that the property could potentially sell for in that area? And when you're looking at comps, you're looking at a couple of different things, right? You're looking at properties that have sold within the last 3 to 6 months within a quarter to a half-mile radius. This is the general guideline for it. But there are areas where properties, are not, selling as quickly or are much more spread out. So you need to branch out to more than half a mile and potentially do like a mile radius. But those are different, you'll know when you have those properties because you won't be able to find just about anything. And just like, when you're obtaining comps, you need to just compare like something as similar as possible with the same property. So if you have a property that is three bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,800 square feet and a cape, you are going to look for a property that's sold in a similar way, right? A property that maybe range around 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath in great condition, right? Now, this is not, again, it's not going to be a complete replica of the property that you are assessing and that you are doing numbers for, but this is, you got to come as close as possible as you can, match as much as you can on that list. And then you're determining your ARV from there. And then the offer price for the formula, right, is you take the ARV and you subtract 30% from the full ARV. And that 30%, you could do it at, some people multiply it by, 80% of or 70% of the ARV, which is fine too. But this is the way that I do it, just the way that I was taught and the way that I do it. So like I said, the golden formula is usually ARV minus 30% of the ARV, and then you subtract repairs and the assignment fee. As far as assignment and repairs and assignment fees goes, we do have a checklist that I use and that I share with my VAs, but mostly we're the ones creating the offer price. So I'm the one, looking at it, and I kind of know, a range typically. And the assignment fee, I mean, 10K is probably the most go-to number. But that does not mean that you have to make 10K on every property, right? So it's flexible. I've had deals where I made 1,500 and I've had deals when I made 35,000 on one deal. So it all ranges on what what you have in that deal and how low can you get that potential seller, right? That seller, like, motivated seller, how low can you get them off of ARV at a discounted price? And then you get to make them an offer. So we like to do 3 options typically. We like to do the cash offer, which is a regular straight wholesale, offer that we give them. And then we also include a seller financing option and a lease option, because we like to be able to give them different, they will be able to see a broader spectrum and be able to see like, oh, this may be something that I'm interested in. Maybe the cash offer is too low, but maybe we could do something with seller financing. So again, it's great to give people options and for them to be able to see it all out. And then of course, after that, you have final negotiations. Sometimes they won't accept an offer, or, there's some stipulation. So, and they might come back, the counter, etc. So you see what room you have in your offer. You continue to listen, you negotiate with the seller to secure the deal. Now, not all deals are going to happen, and that's okay, but you're practicing, and this is part of the process of the business, right? Next, we have the steps to wholesale and identifying the purchase strategy, right? So creative financing is something that we also focus on heavily. Like I said, a regular wholesale standard model is cash purchase, giving them that first option. But we also do like to do seller financing as an option. And if they still have a mortgage on the property, we offer subject to, which is similar to seller financing, but with a mortgage in place. And then we also offer lease options, which is the option to buy the property, but it's not a full seller financing. So options are good. And then our contracts, then you're going to contract, right? So on a typical, wholesale deal, you are going to use a purchase agreement. Recently, I've also added letter of intent, which in some deals in a property that I may feel not as secure with, that my team and I can move, I will do a letter of intent for them, like a letter of intent to purchase. So it's not a full purchase agreement, but it's a letter of intent. But we do, mainly purchase agreements on most of our deals. If you have a joint venture, so if you're working with someone, you want to have a joint venture sign as soon as possible. Now, a joint venture is only good for that property, and it's only good if you are, bringing them the buyer or they bring you the buyer. So if they don't bring you the buyer, it doesn't matter. You're still going to, they're not going to get paid on that. That person that you are JVing with is not going to get paid on that deal unless, they're part of the deal. So whether they're bringing you the property or they're bringing you the buyer, right? And then you have your assignment contract. So that's the other big important part of it, right? You have your purchase agreement, and then your assignment contract. So this is what you are going to basically, quote unquote, assign the contract to your end buyer. And this is where you collect, like, your fee is included, right? So your purchase agreement can be, you got the property under contract for 125 and you are assigning it for 150. So the in between that is 25,000. So that is what your fee would be. The contracts may vary from state on different state rules and regulations. Always have a lawyer to review your contracts and agreements and any seller buyer amendments. I just feel strongly about this. Although I've used my contracts that I've used in just about every state that I've done work in. I can't remember, I've had attorneys look at the contract and have me requested to change a couple of things here and there, sometimes more like the inspection period or, an extension addendum, that they didn't want to do an automatically 90-day extension if we couldn't close by 30 days, 30 business days, etc. So these have been, definitely attorneys have looked at my contracts. They definitely have given me the okay. They also have sometimes asked me to change certain things, and I've done it accordingly. So it's not an issue. Now, before, I don't think I include that really quickly. Well, I'll talk about it in a minute. After you have a property under contract, you should be identifying and connecting with buyers. But I want to say this actually a better way, and not after. I think that during, while you are looking to acquire properties in a certain area, you should simultaneously be building your buyers list. And the reason why that's important is because you're going to need them and you want to be able to move fast once that property is under contract. Now, in the past, I used to call my end buyers and my cash buyers and, ask them and kind of quote unquote interview them and say, like, what are you looking for, etc. At the beginning, that was a very big waste of time for me because they would always ask, like, what do you have? And I'm like, well, I don't have nothing yet, but I want to know what, I can help you with, etc. So it was, they were very dismissive and not engaging as much. But now, I mean, I still don't interview my cash buyers per se. I don't connect with all of them. I just said now I have a large cash buyers list, and every time that we have a new property under contract, whether it's in Texas or Ohio, they all get my list regardless. Unless they tell me to remove them, and then I will remove them. But I send it all, I blast it all to them, and I reach out to them because I want, sometimes strategies change for your end buyers or your cash buyers, right? Like they might be buying in Ohio, but they stopped buying 2 months ago, and you haven't connected with them in 2 months. So now they're buying in, I don't know, Oklahoma or something like that. So you just never know, and they're not going to call you and tell you like, hey, I'm looking for this in here. So, that often it's just better if you just include everyone, right? So how to identify and connect with buyers? How do you build your buyers list, right? Simultaneously again, right? So your local RIAs are really big, right? They have a lot of potential cash buyers, people who are investors, and you can connect with so for virtual wholesaling, right? You can connect with local RIAs in that area. So although I'm in Connecticut, I am part of the local RIA in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, and I believe in Texas too. I recently joined Florida, because with COVID, I mean, the bad thing about it is, right, everything was virtual, but the good thing about that part is that you were able to do a lot of things virtually. So that's what I focused on. And a lot of these meetings continue to be virtually. So you're able to still join even though you're not in the area. Facebook real estate groups are great. Some can be spammy, but some of them are wonderful. So you just got to sift through them, see, who's real and what's going on and who's, playing games, like when one has way too much spam. Bigger pockets forums are great. Craigslist is great. Facebook Marketplace also. And really like connecting with them, it's great to build rapport. Definitely if you're like doing the meetings and joining via Zoom or just checking it out. If you're local in a specific area, attending the meetings, if they're having them in person, it's just a great resource to have. Some other places that you can potentially identify and connect with buyers is a lot of like the auctions, the in-person auctions. You can find them through there and see like, hand out your card and talk to them. And honestly, bottom line is you talk and share about your business, right? So if you're all in your real estate business, you will share with everyone and anyone and you'll be surprised. Like I said, I've been transitioning out of therapy world the last 5 years, and as a wholesaler the last 4 years. I've just been flooding my timeline and my information and social media often with real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. So I've had quite a few people in my circle reach out to me and just ask like, hey, what are you doing in real estate, or how can I start investing, or what, I have some cash, what are some things that you can suggest to do, or like some ways that I can maximize this cash that I have instead of sitting in a bank account. So you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's listening. So it's always good to talk about your business and what you're doing, and just listen again, builds rapport, and see what you're doing, right? And then you get to closing. Woohoo! That was really awesome. So you got a property under contract. Well, you found a distressed property or a distressed seller. You got it under contract at a discounted price, right below market value. You assign the contract to your end buyer, and you are making $25,000 on this deal. And now you get to go to full closing. So once you have the contract signed, the signed one as well, you send it to title or attorney, depending on the state that you are in, and also who's comfortable. Like you might have some buyers who are very adamant about who they want to use, and that's fine. Just be transparent and keep everything, you want to be in contact with everyone. Communication is key during this closing process. You don't want anyone to screw you over. I've had attorneys kind of flake on deals before, especially when they saw the assignment fees. They're like, oh, well, why are you making X amount of dollars? Why would this person even let you take this property for X amount of dollars, but you didn't even do that? Like, so things like this, you just have to be very transparent, and you got to keep it professional, but at the same time, you got to like stay on top of people, communicate. I feel like title companies and attorneys, unfortunately, like they are the worst at communicating, and you get to babysit at this point. So you confirm that, there's a clean title. And that's not you, like the title company or the attorney, this is their job. They're confirming like if there's a clean title, any mortgages, any liens against the property, what are the taxes, all of the above. And they have, when it comes back and everything is all squared away, now you have a clean title and it's a clear to close. They also handle all the distribution of monies to all the parties, so it makes things a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about picking up no money, etc. Just again, sometimes you do have to do some babysitting and like getting this and getting that to one person or another, but That's their job basically, to do that part. And then they report to accounting clerk and unnecessary closing documentation, notarization, and certification. I've had to kind of do a couple of things in between this sometimes. So I've partially done title companies or attorneys jobs in between because I just want to speed up the process. And again, it can be very tedious and like take a long time. So I'm not afraid to jump in and handle what needs to be handled. All right. So basically, we just learned what is wholesaling. You learned the main steps to wholesaling, right? And how to get to closing, right? And close. And we all get paid. Whoop, whoop. So I want to share a little bit more, how can I help, right? So when you are a newer real estate investor or a seasoned one going into wholesaling and it's a new area for you, it can be scary. When I first started, I was trying to absorb as much information as I could in reading books and looking at all the Facebook pages and bought some courses, bought some, like YouTube, and not bought, but watched so many YouTube videos, and let's just try to get as much information as I possibly can, right? And that was great. That got me through several deals, honestly. I was very grateful. I am very grateful for the people who I was able to tap into and ask questions, and they were willingly able to share and answer. Now, at one point I got into my wholesaling business that I wanted to scale it, right? I talked to my husband. I said, listen, I know that we can make this really like a full-time income, not just a side gig. So I want to scale it. So I wanted to connect with someone and hire a coach or a mentor that was going to get me to that next place. For me, what I struggled with, I just wanted to create more systems to make that happen. And I did end up hiring a great coach, which we're still doing deals together at this now 3 years later. And I'm very grateful for her, and it's amazing. But I kept, in the last couple of years, because I've learned a lot and I've also am a big sharing person, I like to give as much information as I can. But at some point it's hard to give and answer questions and kind of handholds potential, like new wholesalers, investors, when I'm giving up my time, right? And I can spend that time with, creating new businesses, like generating more leads, etc. So I did start coaching, which I think I wanted to create something that was unique, because when I was going through it, I couldn't find a program that was going to help me just go through, walk me through a certain deal, right? I knew the basics. I knew how to wholesale. I already had done it before, but some deals will stop me and I'm like, uh-oh, what am I supposed to do right now? I don't really have anyone to call. I would try to post. I would try to text anybody that I may have in my phone and pray that I will get an answer. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, so I just want to create something like that, right? I didn't want to create a group coaching place, because that's not what I want to offer. There's plenty of classes, courses, etc. out there. So what I do provide is one-on-one coaching. And what I do is I literally handhold my clients, right? From A to Z. And I do focus mostly on wholesaling, but in the last 2 years, I've had clients that have come to me not only for wholesaling purposes, but also for creative investing strategies, right? They want to learn how to be hard money lenders or private money lenders themselves, right? They want to learn how they can potentially flip a house or have an Airbnb, develop that, or do some house hacking, right? And I've been able to really guide and direct them the best way possible, and all have been doing amazing in different ways. And I'm so proud of each and every one of them. So I started offering one-on-one coaching. Is individual coaching for clients. It is the hand holding, it takes the guessing out of all your work. We meet for scheduled meetings once a week for 30 to 60 minutes a week. And we also do a in between check-in, right? So between the first and second week, etc., as the weeks go on, if you're in the middle of a deal, you know, like whatever's happening, or whatever, like if you're assessing a property, if you need help filling out a contract, if you need all of this, I don't want my clients to be waiting until the next time that we meet to get that question answered, because deals come and go quickly sometimes. So you do want to be able to have like someone that you can bounce off of and be like, hey, you know, I need help. Are you able to jump on a call today? Or can you text me, like, what should I say to this person, et cetera, et cetera. This is what they responded, and they'll screenshot me like a conversation. How should I reply? And all of this I've been able to do with my one-on-one coaching with my clients. It is a 3-month or 6-month coaching that I offer. I do ask that if you join, you are committed for those 3 months, right? Or 6 months, because I really feel that, you know, anything that you're doing, whether it's real estate or any business or whatever you're doing for yourself in your life, you do have to be committed and consistent with it, right? For you to be able to see results, because you cannot tell me that you have been working diligently every week and have put aside, you know, 15 hours a week to work in your business, and really just doing 5 and expect major results, because that's not going to really happen. So I am very transparent about that. I always tell any potential client that, you know, this is as much as your time as is ours. You know, like, I'm not going to teach you like an actual course, but what I am going to do for you is really like handhold you, right? So we're going to learn all the basics of wholesaling if this is the strategy that you want to use. And I'm going to process all of this with you, and we're going to break it down and start the steps, right? But where you're going to have assignments per se, right? Like your homework, your to-do list, and then you're going to have to create time for your business. So whether it's, you know, if you only have an hour a day that you can create for your business, that's totally fine. But just know, like, you know, you're going to be consistent with that 1 hour a day, and vice versa. You know, like if you want to do 2 hours a day, you know, whatever time that you have, it is what you need to like commit to, and it's non-negotiable. So, like I mentioned, you know, my coaching packages are 3 months for $14.97 or 6 months for $28.97. Now, it is intense in the sense of like, you know, we are meeting every week, but it's also great in the sense of like that you can just text me at any time, right? And I try to do my very best to reply to you within the hour to 2 hours. If it's something super urgent, you can call me. You can email me. You know, I am available, and all my clients will tell you that whenever they have needed me, I have absolutely been there to help them out. So I wanted to share both of those packages with you. If anyone's interested, you feel free to contact me. But the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that if you have a question that you want to ask and you want me to go into a little bit deeper with you, it is offered a 90-minute coaching call, and it's $150 for that, and you can schedule that at any time. So that is available as well. Then I wanted to share more about our recommended vendors. I shared a little bit of, you know, what systems we currently use and have used in the past. And I'm going to send everyone an email with all of this information as well. I think it's valuable to know what we have used and what has worked for us. PropStream is our main lead generating system platform that we love. Aria Reply is currently what we're using for our marketing, which is texting, but it's all in one platform, right? So you have texting, you can call, you can do ringless voicemails, you could do email. It has a built-in website, so it is an all-in-one place, and it also has a built-in CRM. But we use Trello for the CRM. Skiptracing, our favorite, is back Skiptracing. We also have used FIVERR in the past quite often. The business phone line that we currently are actively using is DIALPAD, and it's been really great. You know, we share this line with my partner, and I share it as well as my VAs and I. So it is helpful. For legal creation and entity, Legal Shield, the business plan is great. With Legal Shield, you're able to tap into any attorneys within the United States, and I believe Canada as well. but I focus in the United States, and you're able to, talk to them for the monthly price. They look over all your documents. They will be able to, talk to you about creating your entity if you have not created one yet, or which route to go, and all for the simple price of their monthly rate for their business plan. Again, we use Trello for our CRM. I had a love-hate relationship with Trello at first. It was not my favorite, but it is now, and I love it. The dialer that we have had used in the past when we were doing cold calling is Mojo. Like I mentioned before, we don't do mainly cold calling anymore. We just focus on texting. But if cold calling is what you would like to do, Mojo is the way to go. And websites, Carrot websites are great. They have great reviews. We do not use them. Like I also mentioned earlier, Aria Reply has a built-in website system, but Carrot is highly recommended by many. And of course, how can you reach me? All right, guys. So my website is www.samariponet.com. And my email is hello@samariponet.com. And my phone number is listed as well. You can reach me. You can send me a text if you ever have a question or want to schedule something, get something in the books. Find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse, also on TikTok and YouTube that have recently been added. I just haven't updated this information here, but you can find me across all the social medias. And I am so thankful for you. I am thankful that you are here, that you sat and listened, and that I hope that I answered so many of your questions and that it was super valuable. If you always have any questions, you know where to find me. So let's build our legacy, yours and I, together. Again, thank you so much for your time. Until next time.